But they immediately started shooting with their old guns and with arrows. And I saw a man being killed about 2 yards from me.
A general goes to war. The general, Joseph Mobutu, commander of the Congolese army, here leaving Leopoldville, capital of the Congo, to see his troops in action. His destination, Kikwit, chief town in Kwilu Province. For it's here that the Congo is once again being torn by civil war. This time, a revolt against the central government by left-wing rebels supported by communist China. In the bush of Kwilu Province, local tribesmen are supporting 15,000 guerrilla troops. On his way to the war zone, General Mobutu, back on duty after a month's leave, discusses the situation with a Belgian military advisor. The seriousness of the Kwilu revolt has only just been admitted by the Congolese government. Until 3 weeks ago, they played it down. Now they see it as a bid to set a pro-communist regime in the Congo, in the heart of Africa. But Mobutu's men in Kwilu face a hard task. There's only 1,500 of them to hunt for guerrillas in an area half as big as Belgium. Mobutu will find it hard to spare many more men. His total army strength of 30,000 is already fully stretched, keeping the peace in a country nearly the size of Western Europe. Another problem. From the end of June, Mobutu won't be able to call on help from the United Nations force. Its 5,000 men are finally being withdrawn. But even in the interval, Mobutu is unlikely to ask the UN to intervene actively. He wants to prove that the Congolese army can win its own battles. But if it can't, the Congo's future will indeed be grim. The Kwilu rebels are virtually a bow and arrow army, but they're well organized. Their leader, Pierre Mulele, was trained in guerrilla warfare in communist China. His revolt may well be a major move in Peking's drive to gain Africa for Chinese-style communism. Mulele's men call themselves the jeunesse. It means youth. These are some of the 300 rebels being held captive in Kikwit town. Missionaries who've been attacked say the jeunesse go into battle crazed with hemp, showering dirt over themselves in the belief it will protect them from bullets. Their communism is primitive enough. They say it will give them everything the white man has. The few rifles they possess are crudely made. They mostly use bows and arrows. On his visit to Kikwit, General Mobutu tested a rebel bow and arrow. A poisoned arrow killed his own chief of staff 4 weeks ago. One of the bloodiest battles so far was fought at Idiofa, 60 miles east of Kikwit. 300 rebels died in suicidal attacks against the Congolese army detachments at Idiofa. The local commander said they died shouting, "Mulele, Mulele." The raids were spread over 5 weeks. By the time they were over, Idiofa was a ghost town. Its 9,000 population had vanished into the bush. And this is the ghost town. The rebels have also taken to raiding mission stations. To date, 6 missionaries have been murdered in the Kikwit-Idiofa area. One who escaped told his story to roving reporter Sandy Gall.
They came straight to our house where everybody was standing and staff was standing in front of the house waiting for people who came. Then I asked them, what do you want? I am the chief of the place, because we were ready to give them anything they wanted. But they immediately started shooting. with their old guns and with arrows. And I saw a man being killed about 2 yards from me, so I knew they were serious about it.
Who was this?
This was Mr. Maréchal.
A Belgian...
Belgian teacher. He got a bullet in his head. Now, I got at this time an arrow on my leg, and I started running. I got another arrow on my back. I already had got 2 blows on my head, so finally they thought I was seriously injured, and I received more blows on the head, and I fell down, made as if dead. Then I was saved by the plane that came overhead. The youth scattered, and I had a chance to run to the bush.
What was the motive, do you think, behind this attack?
Well, I think this was a punitive expedition because they had losses in Idiofa and Congo. And they knew that Mekungika was without defenders since one day, since the 10 policemen who were there had already fled.
So although they'd suffered these losses at the hands of the Congolese army, in fact,
yes,
they took it out on you, on missionaries.
I think that's what happened. And they knew the place was safe for them because one of our workers who had already been paid an hour before just left the place and went to tell them that the place was without defenders.
Now, is the whole area around where the mission is up in arms?
I'll say there is about nobody left around. All the villages around the mission are empty and burned.
And is the country, the whole countryside, up in arms, in rebellion?
Yes.
When the UN goes, will matters get worse? Will the Congolese army, the ANC, be able to cope? The man in charge of the withdrawal is Canadian Brigadier Jacques Dextra's. Roving Report questioned the general, but first sat in on a briefing he gave local commanders.
Well, gentlemen, I want to give you the outline plan for the withdrawal, which is going to take place from here in May and June. Generally speaking, what I would like to do is that we pull the Luluabor troops out direct home without having to stage them back here. The same thing for Kolwezi, Jadoville, and Eville. I think it is highly important that we run down our national stores as quickly as possible. We should keep in these different localities just the amount of material that we need to carry on our mission. Now, regarding the other stores which are not national contingently owned, these are ONUC stores. These must be declared surplus as soon as possible. We must turn these over into dumps so that the civilian side of the operation can then decide how they will dispose of them. If Colonel Sidhu is going to pilot this, this withdrawal plan, he is gathering all the information now. Of course, we have to know the exact tonnage, the exact cubic content of each case that is going to be loaded. The figuring has got to be done on 2 bases, on aircraft base and on ship base, because we don't know exactly what is going to be done now. Well, I think that's all, gentlemen.
So what do you think will happen when the UN leaves in June?
Well, I think that you're referring to what the conditions will be after we leave. Well, I'm not worried about how things will be on the 30th of June. I think that the ANC is getting hold of the situation. As a matter of fact, has a good hand on the situation. And I feel that with the help of the Nigerian police, which I am told is supposed to remain in the country over here, that they should be able to handle the situation. We are working in close cooperation with the ANC right now. The ANC is doing most of the work in Luluabor, in Elizabethville, Kolwezi, all these places. We are simply there to assist. And we find that we've got the greatest of cooperation with ANC. They're efficient, the same as in the Kwilu operation right now. They're doing their very best, and they're quite efficient in doing the job.
If the situation does deteriorate before June, will the UN still leave?
Well, this is a question I cannot answer. This is to the United Nations headquarters in New York. And this is the political side of the operation, and I'm really not concerned in that. I'm a soldier, and I do what I'm told.
But although the United Nations troops are going, the UN civilian staff is staying on. For 3 years, they've been helping the Congolese to help themselves. The chief of the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization in the Congo, UNESCO, is Dragoljub Naiman.
I think that no solution of the problem in the Congo may be achieved without solving the educational problems of the country. Let me just tell you that this country came to independence with about 1 university-trained person per million of inhabitants. I think that the importance of education in relation to maintaining peace, law and order in this country could be the best seen out of an example. I think it's useless to train from a military point of view or from good soldiers, good officers or good policemen if at the end of their training they are unable to read a passport or an identity card or unable to interpret it. I think that they have to undergo a military training only after having achieved a period in general education. And this is why we lay emphasis also on general education.
The drive to improve education in the Congo has been hampered by a lack of schools, teachers, and lack of money. The Congo spends 37% of its budget on education, a fantastically high percentage, says UNESCO, but warns that even this is not enough. But improvements are being made, especially in secondary education. When Belgium gave the Congo its independence in 1960, only 29,000 children were at secondary schools. Today, there are 85,000, nearly 3 times as many.
Évidemment, un des pays les plus importants. Formé part d'une mission pour l'aide au Congo.
Luvanium University, one of the 3 universities in the Congo, and its oldest. It opened just 10 years ago. As UNESCO's Mr. Naiman underlined, the Congo came to independence with about 1 university-trained person for every 1 million inhabitants. By 1971, 3,000 Congolese a year will be graduating from university. Another problem, lack of teachers. These are being trained at a college in Leopoldville. At present, 800 foreign teachers are helping out. By 1967, another 6,000 will be needed. And there's a shortage of more schools. All those being built in the Congo are being put up by UNESCO. But more schools, more teachers is a long-term battle. Meanwhile, the Congolese are having to learn how to run the country the hard way while doing the job. Their instructors, 4,000 white people. Half of these are Belgian experts, a quarter are UN personnel. In this World Health Organization clinic in Leopoldville, Congolese medical assistants further their training under an Australian doctor. Another aspect of education, teaching people not to fear medical treatment. As with teaching, the Congo's medical service is heavily dependent on outside help. In 1960, the United Nations forecast that it would take 10 to 15 years to train enough Congolese to staff the country's health service adequately. Despite UNESCO's help, the outbreak of epidemics is a constant fear. The Congolese are also learning to run their own airline. Here at Leopoldville Airport, instruction in talk-down technique is being given by an Israeli supervisor.
Quebec Charlie Bravo Tango, over.
Man Quebec Charlie Bravo Tango, this is Leopoldville Control, go ahead.
Man Quebec Charlie Bravo Tango, a DC-4 from Kikwit to Leopoldville.
Air Congo is a national airline, but it's run in close cooperation with the Belgian airline Sabena. Of the Congo's 4,000 white advisors, the surprising fact is that half are Belgians. For the mutinies and chaos which followed independence led to a mass exodus of Belgians. But gradually they returned, and to positions of authority, for they had the know-how the Congolese are having to acquire. The Belgians today lead much the same sort of off-duty life as Belgian settlers did in the days before the Congo's independence. Some, water sports on the River Congo. For others, a point-to-point at the Belgian riding school in Leopoldville. For other Belgians, a rarer pastime, a game of pelota. But the Belgian and UN advisors, hard as they're trying, are only scratching the surface of the Congo's problems. Not the least of these is the country's size. Compared with Europe, it would comfortably embrace London, Copenhagen and Rome. The Congo's size brings a daunting problem of travel and communications. The traditional method, the River Congo, an immense uncoiled snake that drains practically the whole country on its 3,000-mile looping journey from the interior to the sea. If the river is a means of communications and travel for some, it's a way of life for thousands who live by its banks. The course of the river was discovered by journalist and explorer Henry Stanley soon after he met Dr. Livingstone. He traced the river on a journey that cost the lives of 2/3 of the members of his expedition. Their bodies lie buried at Leopoldville, a town founded by Stanley and which grew to be the Congo's capital. From the air, Leopoldville still looks like the modern, westernized capital that the Belgian settlers left behind them in 1960. But over the past 4 years, Leopoldville has become an overcrowded, down-at-heels capital, as have the Congo's other cities. In 1960, 250,000 people lived here. Now there are 4 times as many. Of Leopoldville's 1 million citizens, at least 100,000 are unemployed or unemployable. Every day, scores more flock in from the bush, seeking jobs but with little chance of finding them. And in the streets, litter is the badge of a capital that has lost its pride. Unemployment, poverty, hunger. The problems of the Congo as a whole are highlighted in Leopoldville. The shops are half empty. Even goods like socks are hard to buy, and a sugar shortage means you queue for what there is. In this atmosphere, black marketing flourishes. The United Nations troops have been blamed for their part in the black market. The American cigarettes peddled by African boys come from the United Nations contingent, and other goods are alleged to come from the same source. The man most aware of the Congo's problems, and the man battling to solve them, Prime Minister Mr. Cyrille Adoula. He took over one of the world's toughest political jobs after the murder 3 years ago of Patrice Lumumba, the Congo's first premier. Hard work, plus a distaste for controversy, have helped keep Adoula in power. With UN help, he put down the early revolts and reconquered the breakaway province of Katanga. But how will he fare when the UN force pulls out? Adoula says that in the end, no amount of outside help will solve the Congo's problems. Only the Congolese themselves can do this. The new revolt in Kwilu, feeding on the country's poverty and unemployment, endangers all he has so far achieved. He can win through, but ahead of him lies one of the toughest tasks in Africa.